What's up, guys? So today we have a question from Josh, and he had his toughest training session that he's ever had recently. He's only been training for 2 months, and he says that he ended up developing a migraine after it. And he says that he has a history of migraines where they come about because of dehydration. So he says he was dehydrated after training. He says that the weird thing is beforehand he drank 32 ounces of water. He had a 20-ounce sports drink before, and then a 20-ounce sports drink afterwards. And so he's not sure why he would be dehydrated, and he just wondering if I have any ideas on some, additional hydration methods before training. So, Josh, thanks for the question, brother. Knocking stuff over. And I'm going to give you the sort of the experience that I've had with dehydration, because there was a point in my life where I literally thought I was having a heart attack, right? So it was this time period where I was having some tightness in my chest, right? And I thought there was something wrong with my heart. That's the hypochondriac in me. But the sort of the smarter side of me was like, man, look, I wouldn't be able to train like this if if something was really wrong. But let me go to the doctor and get everything checked out, right? So I went to the doctor, and they, my general practitioner first, and they hooked me up with some little electrodes, and they did a EKG on me. The doctor comes back, this guy that I've known for years, and he speaks with me with this concerned look, a look and a tone that he's never used with me once. Like, man, what's going on? And he told me this, and the way he's speaking to me freaked me out, because I'm like, he's never spoken to me like that before. And so I'm like wigging out a little bit, and he like goes through these things, and he's talking about what came back, and he asked me like, what are you doing today? I said, Doc, whatever you want me to do. So he goes out, makes a call, he comes back in, hands me a note with an address and says, go here, don't do anything else, go to this place and let them look at you. I'm like, okay, I'll go. So I'm like, I think I'm dying at this point. I'm like, oh God, I'm it's all over for me, right? So I was like sending my girlfriend messages. I'm freaking out. I'm like, you need to go find a new guy with a good ticker, because it's all over for me. So I get to this place. They hook me up. I sit down in this lazy boy. They hook me up with all these IVs, and they start running blood work and running more EKGs and all this stuff. And the whole time I'm just thinking, I'm dying. I'm going, right? Even I messaged my friend who's a nurse practitioner telling this, and he's like, I think his message reply back to me is, whoa, big fella. So they come back in later on, and they tell me, listen, everything's fine in your heart. There's nothing wrong with it. Everything looks okay, you're fine. The only thing that we notice is that you're dehydrated. And for me, I'm like, how am I dehydrated? I drank a ton of water. I had a few cups of coffee this morning. How am I dehydrated? There was a ton of fluids going through me. So after I came back, I started doing research on this dehydration thing. I was like, man, how am I dehydrated? I'm drinking lots of water. But what I found was that drinking all this water, taking a fair amount of coffee in too, is just flushing the salts out of it, right? Like, basically you're diluting. Your body needs to have a sort of a good sort of balance of fluid with the salts that are in there, right? Like salt water, right? So you have to have a good amount of electrolytes with the water and the fluids that are inside your system. And by drinking all this water, I'm just flushing them out. And with the coffee too, it's only causing it to happen even more rapidly. And so what was happening is all that fluid getting rid of it. So what I started to do is I started to back off the water. I still drink a good amount of water, and I keep my, obviously, my pee, I keep it nice and sort of like very pale, right? But I also do things like I salt the hell out of everything with either some Celtic salt or some Himalayan salt. I carry this with me at tournaments and everything else. Before training sessions, I'll take some. I salt up my food. I salt my water. And again, for you guys that are maybe worried about sodium has kind of a bad rap. Do your own research. But sodium's kind of like cholesterol was, right? Where you're told not to eat a lot of sodium because it can be bad for you and raise your blood pressure. But dehydrating yourself can lower your blood pressure. And then just like cholesterol, like they now say that cholesterol has no bearing over your diet. Like dietary cholesterol doesn't have any significant bearing over your blood cholesterol, right? It's other factors. And so again, it's like one of those things where maybe they weren't right about that, because I know that as I've gotten my electrolytes in balance and gotten my blood work done to match this, my actual blood pressure's come down a bit. So I do that. I don't drink as much coffee as I used to, right? Because especially before training, because again, it can be a bad thing if I drink too much of it and flush my system out. Another thing is that, and I'm just going to share this with you because we spoke a little bit in Instagram, and you were talking about your diet, and you were saying that, you were telling me what you ate before training. You really didn't eat much before a hard training session, right? You ate a pretty relatively small meal, and you didn't really have much carbohydrates. And again, if you're a low carber, that's fine. For me, when I did the low carb thing and tried to do the keto thing, I had to supplement before, because I train a lot, right? And before I was going to try to train, I had to take I had to take different magnesium supplements and stuff like that just to get the electrolytes in me, because I'm flushing through them, right? Like just the water's not holding on me anymore. And you think about one of the things that carbohydrates do is they basically make you hold on to water, right? So if you eat a bunch of food that's high in carbohydrates, you're going to hold on to more water, which for muscle function is not a bad thing. And so before training sessions for me, I think that most people would, and I just say this from experience. I see my guys come in the gym, and I know what I've done before, and I've tried to dump the carbs out to try to lose some weight or something like that. And if you have to, do whatever you got to do. But a lot of times I see people have a better benefit if they just plan their carbs around their workouts, meaning they have a pretty carb-rich meal before their workout, right? Again, make sure they're good sources of carbohydrates, right? And then they have their workout, and then afterwards they have some carbs, and the rest of the day you can low carb it if you're trying to do that. But again, maybe bump those carbohydrates up before training. Okay, might give you a little bit more energy, a lot more fuel to work on. Because again, I say this to people all the time: jiu-jitsu's tough stuff, man. It may not seem like it because we're just doing this fun activity, but jiu-jitsu's some high-performance stuff. Right? And you have to treat it like your body needs fuel. It needs something to work on when you're revving that engine up. And if it doesn't, it's just not going to work so well. The last thing I would say is one of the other supplements that maybe you could throw into the mix instead of those sports drinks. Sports drinks are just junk, man. Like, we were told that they're great, but I mean, do your research on it. They're not great. You'd be better off, I think, with like a dextrose-based supplement that a lot of times you can get them with, they're usually sold as pre, intra, and post workouts. But it's a dextrose supplement with a lot of times, a lot of the ones now have electrolytes in them with some amino acids, things like that. So it's a great way to uptake some stuff. And the cool thing about the dextrose is it gets into your system really quick. And a lot of times they have, like I said, look for the ones that have a balance of electrolytes in the back, for like getting tongue-tied, potassium, sodium, magnesium, these things. And then take that. I find that those are really useful for one of those hard training sessions, like especially in summertime where I'm just sweating profusely. I'll take that stuff, and that usually helps get me back up to speed a little bit more effectively. You could also do some things like coconut water or whatever, but those are the things that I think are useful, right? Like salting your food a lot, making sure that you eat some carbohydrates. If you want to low carb it, I'm not the guy to ask because I don't low carb it. Take some carb-rich meals before and after workouts, right? And before is really important because it's going to give you the fuel. And then if you need to supplement in some stuff, you can either start taking some different supplements like through pill form, or you can do some things like dextrose supplements that have it built in there already. So anyway, I think the video's long enough. Brother, thank you for the question, and good luck, Josh.